Hello, Cooper Glover, 1972 here. Um, I decided I do have a 3 day weekend. I had to work today, today being Saturday. Well, technically it's Sunday because it's 3:09 in the morning. Um, because of a snow day on Tuesday, so I couldn't go into work. Um, but I was gonna do this my weekly film reviews. I was gonna do them on Monday or Sunday, maybe Monday, because I had Monday off because of President's Day. But I decided to do this today, and then I'll do the ones I watched tomorrow and Monday at next weekend. I'll talk about those. So obviously, I think I watched very few films this week. Um, I watched one that a person recommended to me, and then I watched a few that I saw on movie that were leaving, and that's why I wanted to do this video tonight because there's two movies directed by Catherine Bigelow, who directed The Hurt Locker, which won her an Oscar for Best Director. She's the first woman to win the Best Director Oscar. She then went on to make Zero Dark 30. She's also done Strange Days. I have a copy of Strange Days, but I haven't. I think I watched the starting of it, but I just didn't watch the rest. That doesn't mean I don't want to watch it. Sometimes I just do that. Um, so I wanted to talk about two films directed by her on Mubi, and the first one expires on tomorrow on Sunday. Well, technically it's Sunday, and the second one expires on Monday night. And I just watched the second one, the one that expires on Monday night. I just want to give more of a heads up, so if you're gonna watch it, you have time to watch it. So that's why I decided to do this video on Saturday rather than wait till Monday. So, but before I talk about those Catherine Bigelow movies, I have another movie um, that I want to talk about. Um, I'm just turning my turning my phone back on to get some information. Uh, so I'm just trying to. Okay, so anyways, the first film I watched, and this was recommended by Gray 1951, also known as Mike. Um, I guess it's one of his favorite films. Maybe it's in his top five or top 10. He really loves this movie, and um, another person that he's involved he talks to, James, DVD collector 1974. I think he watches because Mike was talking about how much he liked it, and I think I've seen it before, but I fell asleep during it. And well, anyways, it's all about Eve with Betty Davis and Ann Baxter. I don't really know the other actors that well. Um, I have watched a fair share of old movies, but not tons, maybe. Um, I've watched a little bit. Um, I've watched maybe a fair amount. I don't know. I mean, I'm not steeped in. Maybe I'm well. Maybe I'm not steeped in old Hollywood films as much as I think I am. I don't know. Probably I've seen more films from the 70s and the 60s. Well, maybe I've seen some films from the 50s and 40s. Well, sort of. I don't know. Maybe I have. Um, All About Eve. I think it came out in 1950. Um, I'm going to try to present this in a way that I don't destroy the don't let the don't let the cat out of the bag and make people think that spoil it. Basically, is what I mean. Um, so there's this woman named Eve, um, and at the start of the movie, she's outside this Broadway theater, and this woman comes upon her, and she finds out that this woman Eve has been waiting in the she's been at this play like day after day watching the play, which the Betty Davis character is. The woman that plays Eve is a woman named Ann Baxter. So she's watching this play every day, done by played by Betty Davis, and she plays a woman named uh, um, um, I can't believe I don't remember the name. Margot Channing. That's right, Margot Channing. Yeah. Um, so that so Eve manages to find her way behind the stage. She gets there. She gets behind the stage through Celeste Hall. Celeste Holm, is that her name? Um, yes, Celeste Holm playing the woman Karen, who is the wife of the playwright Lloyd Richards, played by Hugh Marlowe. So I don't know if I know really a ton of actors from old Hollywood. Like I'm not familiar with them. I'm like familiar with like foreign, like like I think I know a fair share of Japanese actors, or a few actors from other areas of the world. And as far as Hollywood actors go, I probably know well. I know well. I like a fair amount of the old actors. It's just Jimmy Stewart, Cary Grant. Who else do I like from that time? Oh, Marlon Brando is one of my favorites. And um, I don't know. I'm not really thinking. I have no idea. But anyways, so Eve gets into the graces of the Betty Davis character, Margot Channing, um, and Eve is very humble woman, it seems, and but there's a character played by Thelma Ritter. Her name is Birdie, and she's like the servant of would a servant be the right word? Like an assistant for Betty Davis's character. And oh, by the way, Betty Davis and Thelma Ritter got along very well. I guess they were kindred spirits or whatever. Thelma Ritter, I've seen her in some other movies. Like she's good in Rear Windows, The Nurse for James Stewart. She's good in I can't remember the film awfully well, but Pick Up on South Street by Sam Fuller. She's in that. And she's been in some other. This is directed by Joseph Mankiewicz and written by him as well. And she's been in another film of his, or maybe she's been in more than two of his films. I'm not sure, but at least another one. I know that. Um, so, anyways, Eve is she's not what she really appears to be. Let's put it that way. So, um, I don't want to really unfold it too much. This is supposed to be one of the great Hollywood films, one of the great films of all time. I'm a person that likes visual films more than dialogue ridden films. I do like films with lots of dialogue. I mean, my go-to example is Clockwork Orange because there's this colorful language. Of course, it's Kubrick, like my channel, Kubrick Lover 1972, my favorite director. But also the thing about Clockwork Orange is, great. It's great visually. It's great dialogue wise. It's also great audio. You know, great use of sound and um, but so this was kind of talky for me, but it had very good lines. It's very witty. You know, Joseph Mankiewicz wanted to write for the theater, and you can see that theater kind of influence coming into this film. And you know, because I took this out of the library, I wanted to watch all the other stuff. So I watched the special features. I listened to the two commentaries. This film saved Betty Davis's career. She was, I think, in a few duds, a few films that didn't make it, um, didn't do too well at the box office, and she was in her 40s, and this sort of resurrected her career. She wasn't nice to the people on set. She wasn't nice to Celeste Holm. Um, and Anne Baxter wanted to be nominated for Best Actress that year, which she was, but I think initially it was gonna. I think they were gonna nominate her for Best Supporting Actress, and so because of that, Betty Davis was in the same category as Anne Baxter, and they ran against Gloria Swanson for Sunset Boulevard, and they ran against let's see how many people is that? Three. I think usually there's five actresses that run every year. So, um, but um, Judy Holliday won for what movie was that called? I can't remember the name of it. Um, I only know the name because I've heard the name before. I think of that film of the woman that won Best Actress that year, but I can't remember the name of it. Anyways, I think her name was Judy Holliday, and she won instead. But All About Eve um, won Best Director and Writer, which is Joseph Mankiewicz, and Daryl Zanuck won for Best Picture. But you know, that's the producer who wins that award, and it was nominated for I think 11 Academy Awards. Like this, now I think Titanic was nominated for the same amount of awards. Titanic might have won more, um, and maybe Lord of the Rings: Return of the King was nominated for 11 as well. Um, uh, but and Daryl Zanuck, um, they didn't get along well. Daryl Zanuck and Joseph Mankiewicz. Betty Davis didn't get along with Daryl Zanuck. They're quite big egos fighting each other. But somehow out of this kind of frustration and mess and all this comes this fantastic film with these witty lines, and you know and it tells about the dynamics of I'm trying not to give this away. I'm trying to not let the cat out of the bag. It's the film is trying not to. I mean, the film is it's about being a star and what it takes to be a star. So um, Joseph Mankiewicz was the brother of Herman Mankiewicz, and Herman Mankiewicz found fame in Hollywood as the co-screenwriter of Citizen Kane that Orson Welles directed, regarded as one of the greatest films of all time. And they say like Joseph Mankiewicz was regarded as Herman Mankiewicz's kid brother, sort of bringing down him a notch. But Herman Mankiewicz basically destroyed his career by alcoholism and I guess bad behavior. Just telling people off, like Harry Cohn from Columbia, um, who was the head of Columbia Pictures. Like they had this story about Harry Cohn that if he sits in a movie theater in his screening room and if he's sad, I guess, because he's dead now probably, but if he moves his butt an inch, that means the film's not good. Meaning he has. If he's really into a movie, he's not going to move around. And Herman Mankiewicz made it like a derogatory comment, and Harry Cohn said, get out of here. Something like that. Um, Yeah. So, anyways, um, so I'm gonna give this film, um, Mike. I don't. I probably don't like it as much as you do, um, because I do like films that are more visual, and if they audio wise, they have to have like dynamic sound or unique kind of sound. So and as I saw in the special features, like Joseph Mankiewicz was considered an actor's director, a dialogue director. He didn't use flashy camera moves. He didn't move the camera around or have you know dolly shots or cranes or anything like that. He moved the camera very minimally, and he didn't shoot a lot of coverage. He'd shoot a wide shot and then he'd shoot close ups, but he didn't like shoot extra footage. He just basically he edited it while he was doing it, so he didn't have to shoot more footage. So I guess I talked enough about that. So my rating for it out of 5 stars is 4. I'll give it 4. So the next two are by Catherine Bigelow. They're on Mubi, which is the streaming platform. The first one that I'm going to talk about expires tomorrow night at 12 midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern time. The streaming site is called Mubi. I've talked about it a lot. I watch movies on it. And I was trying to watch these movies before they expire, but I took a bunch of movies out of the library. So maybe, I mean, there's a Japanese film directed by the guy who did House, and I was gonna watch that and give you a review way ahead in advance, but probably I'm gonna watch at the last minute like I usually do. But anyways, so the first one I'm going to talk about is from 1987. It's called Near Dark. At the start of the film, this young man he sees this young woman um, out on the street, and he strikes up a conversation with her, and then he says, "You want to go someplace?" They go someplace, and she says she has to get back home, and he started keeping her in the out in the dark and for quite a while, and he he then take drives her home, but there's something that she hasn't told him about herself, and that's what the narrative um, circles around or centers on. It's sort of a horror noir film, and I thought it was okay. I think I'm giving it 2.5 stars, which means marginal thumbs down, because it was kind of dull and kind of um, lazy, in my opinion. Um, some of it was kind of exciting, but the actors in it. Oh, I'm sorry. Going back to All About Eve, I'm sorry. Marilyn Monroe was in this. She made a few star. She had a few parts where she read some pretty significant lines. And there's the theater critic, who's a pretty interesting guy who you have to keep who does something pretty significant in the film. Going back to Near Dark, so um, Bill Paxton is in it and Lance Henriksen, and they're part of this posse of people. I don't want to give it away, but it's sort of like a horror movie, or it is a horror movie in a way. Um, but I think Bill Paxton and Lance Henriksen, if I'm correct on this, were in Alien together, and um, oh, wait, Aliens. I'm sorry, Aliens. That makes me might connect all together because Catherine Bigelow was married to James Cameron, and I know Bill Paxton was in Aliens, and I think Lance Henriksen was in it too. I think he played the android. I haven't seen it in a while, Um, but I thought Bill Paxton's acting in this particular movie was over the top and just nuts, and it sort of turned me off. And Lance Henriksen's act, I thought all those their groups acting was a little bit way overblown. Um, I thought I don't know. It felt like a lazy film. Just when I use the term lazy, I'm sort of referring to Brian De Palma. He talks about lazy filmmaking, which is like phoning it in. You know, not putting the effort into making a good film. Like, you know, you say, well, we'll shoot this right here. You don't think about how of moving the camera or dialing or craning, or you don't put any thought into the shots. You just say, let's throw this here, do this, do that, you know, or just read off the script and phone it in. You know, it just but I don't know. There are parts that are kind of interesting, you know, when because they're sort of on the lam, this group of people from the law, and they get in a shootout, and so that particular scene of the shootout was kind of interesting, but for the most part, it was just very dull to me. It was just kind of a lame movie. So I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. And the last one I just saw this right now before I record this video. It's a film I like a lot. Blue Steel. It's also directed by Catherine Bigelow. Oh, Near Dark came out in '87. Blue Steel came out in 1989, and it stars Jamie Lee Curtis and Louise Fletcher. Um, Jamie Lee Curtis plays a female cop. She's a rookie, um, and at just after she graduates from the police academy at the start of the movie, she comes across a robbery in progress, and that tests her skills, and complications ensue because of that. She's successful ending the robbery, but something happens um, that throws things out of control, um, involving one of the people that's being held up at the grocery store where the robber is conducting his robbery. So, and it's pretty fast. It's a kinetic and energy to it, like when she shoots a robber at the start of the movie and shoots him with a few gun blasts. Then he goes right through the glass of the store onto the sidewalk, and maybe that's not realistic, but it's so fun and kinetic and beautiful, and I think it works very well. And then it stars Louise Fletcher as well, who I think played Nurse Ratched in um, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She plays Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, and Jamie Lee Curtis's character probably has become a cop because she doesn't like how her mother has been physically abused by her father. She doesn't like how well, I mean, there's a man she meets at this barbecue at the start, and her best friend says, "I want you to meet this guy," and they're getting along well, and they're kind of flirting. Then he asks her, "What do you do for a living?" And she says, "I'm a cop." And then she says, like, "I noticed your car isn't registered," and he says, "Well, I was gonna I have the register sticker. I just got to get it out of my car to put it on my car." And he sort of gets turned off by that. And but anyways, there's a lot of misogynistic stuff that goes on in the film, and she's very vulnerable in parts of the movie. And she finds trouble with this person she meets during the movie. So I think I'll leave it at that. The music's by Brad Fiedel, who did the music for the Terminator movies. Well, he did Terminator 1 and 2. As far as 3 and 4, uh, I think 3 was called Rise of the Machines, and 4 is Genesis, I believe. I don't know if those were scored by Brad Fiedel, but the first and second one was, and he does the music. It's kind of this how would you describe the music? Kind of mood, like very like a synthesizer, I guess. It said electric violin in the credits. It's very how would you describe it? Ten, like a tense kind of um, just like a trance like. I'm not describing it too well, but like a trance like kind of feel to the sound. And it's also was produced by Oliver Stone. He's one of the producers. So that I give 3.5 stars. Um, I think if you watch it, you really enjoy it. I don't think maybe it's not a great film, but it's a little better than good. So that's why I give it 3.5 stars. 4 would be great. 3 would be marginal thumbs up, good. So this is a little better. This is pretty good. So and it's a lot of fun to watch, and she goes through a lot of pressure. Um, she gets really thrown around in this film, literally and figuratively. And but I think you like catch your breath because it's like a thriller and psychological thriller and lots of action in it, and it's a very fun film to watch. I think, even though it's addressing a serious topic, so that does it. I was gonna, like I said, I was gonna do. Um, I was gonna do more movies in a few days, but I thought I would do this video because I wanted to warn you about those two Catherine Bigelow films. I have no idea if anybody watching this is going to watch those films. If you don't watch them on Movie, maybe you can watch them some other way. And those two films are Near Dark and Blue Steel. Near Dark, but Blue Steel's pretty good. And All About Eve it's a good movie, but it's kind of a dialogue heavy film, and I like a little more visual stuff in my movies. Um, that's not to say that I wouldn't like to watch films that are. I do like dialogue films. Um, I don't know, maybe My Man Godfrey, or I don't know. But I like something visual complementing it too, So I do like old Hollywood films. I'm not trying to bring it down. It's just and they're old Hollywood. I'm starting to really like old Hollywood films. Well, I sort of already always did, but I'm sort of inclining towards the sort of in a way inclining towards older movies. I'm still watching new movies, but I'm sort of, well, I don't know if I'm. I like the fact that old films you slowly edge your way into. You slowly work your way into the film. It doesn't start off with a big explosion and a car going off a cliff or something. Which is fine, but these films take their time and roll things out very gradually. And I like that too. I find that very appealing. And you can see that kind of thing in foreign films like Iran, for example, or where else would you find that? Maybe Russia or Sweden. And I love foreign movies, and I love how they have a different approach, and yet a same approach in the fact that we're all human, and no matter where we are in the world, we all have feelings, of sadness and hate and kindness and happiness and humor and sadness and all that stuff. So I don't know. So I'm going on and on. Um, I might try putting a garage band song up this coming week. I don't know. I like how it starts off. I think I can. Well, I think I added more to it, so I don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching. You'll see me soon enough. And this is Brian with movies for this week. So thanks a lot for watching. Check out my blog. Check out my GarageBand songs. I'm going to try to put some of those GarageBand songs on my other channel, which is Paige Hendricks Slash. And there's nothing really on there right now. Those you can see those two videos that are on Paige Hendricks Slash on my regular channel as well. So, which is this channel. So, that's enough. See you later. Bye.